Kamala Harris back on the trail, giving those hard-hitting interviews that we know she loves to do. So Kamala Harris is, she wants to be a president for everybody and create a, what does she call it? A opportunity economy. What the hell is that? What the hell is an opportunity economy? That makes no sense whatsoever. Every economy is an opportunity economy. I've never seen an economy that was not an opportunity economy. But that just kind of, let's be honest. Kamala, not the sharpest bulb in the box, but she is still a bulb in the box. So we'll give her that much at least. So as usual, Kamala loves to go do these hard-hitting interviews where she answers these really tough questions that Americans need to know, and she gives us these stunning answers. Kamala, what are you going to do about the high prices in America? Well, I grew up a middle-class child. Okay, great, fantastic, moving along. Then she goes to the next interview. Kamala, what are you going to do about the high prices in America? Well, you see, when I was a kid, I grew up in a middle-class family. Fantastic, great. Let's move along. And that's pretty much her standard answer for every time you ask her a question about the high prices in America. You get to hear how she grew up a middle-class child. Solves everything. Now I understand why the prices are so high. Hit the nail on the head. Shit. Why didn't somebody ask her this 4 years ago? Problem would have been solved. So instead of going to somewhere like Fox News, because, if you want to be a president for everybody, only get interviews on liberal networks. Perfect sense. Meanwhile, you have Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, and dude, they're doing interviews everywhere. They are literally walking into the lion's den and giving interviews. Kamala Harris only goes to Kamala Safe Spaces. She's got an interview coming up on Stephen Colbert. That's going to be hard-hitting journalism. Hard-hitting journalism. And has this guy ever been funny a day in his life? I've seen his show one time. I made it about 15 minutes into it and turned it off. It was pathetic. Pathetic. What happened to late night? Johnny Carson, the early David Letterman when he had the Late Late Show, hilarious. Conan O'Brien, freaking hilarious. Freaking hilarious. Now they're just shills for the DNC. And they're just simply not funny anymore. Simply not funny. But instead of going on Fox News or going to Newsmax, where Republicans would love to see Kamala, because if you want to be my president, tell me why you should be my president. Go onto a network where they're going to ask you questions that align with my values. Well, we can't have that. That can't happen. We're going to tell you what you need to believe, and you're going to believe it because it's called democracy. We're going to force you into what you think is right and wrong, and we're going to tell you what is right and wrong, and you're going to like it because that is called democracy. So she's got a Stephen Colbert coming up. She does, she's done a couple of ABC interviews. She did the Oprah interview, which was just talk about a hack crap interview. And poor old Oprah tried her best to steer Kamala Harris to the right answers and could never get there. Just simply couldn't get there. She could not take Kamala to the correct place. And she tried. And you can see it. If you watch the interview multiple times, Oprah is literally sitting there like this. Like, I can't believe what I'm hearing. I'm giving you the answer, and you're still not getting the answer. Amazing. So, keeping up with tradition, Kamala Harris banging out these hard-hitting interviews. So she lands on Call Her Daddy. That is right. Kamala Harris keeping it classy as always. Call her daddy. Let's not go to Fox News. Let's not go to Newsmax. Let's not give some serious, hard-hitting, unscripted interviews. Let's not do that. Let's go to Call Her Daddy. Now, this was a stroke of genius. Stroke of genius. Brilliant. So before we get into that, just real quick, Kamala Harris goes on Call Her Daddy, which we already know is going to be a left-wing shill propaganda piece of shit. Let's be honest. Newsmax. Is this Newsmax? No, I'm sorry. New York Post. Call Her Daddy fans blast Alex Cooper over Kamala Harris interview. Feels like propaganda. Yeah, go figure, right? Here we go. Daily Beast. Call her daddy faces backlash over propaganda Harris interview. And it just goes on and on and on. They're all pretty much the same headline everywhere you go. Because that's what it is. It is a propaganda piece. Now, I'm not sitting here to say anything bad about her. What's her name? Alice Cooper? Oh, Alice Cooper? Alex. Alex Cooper. Good for her. Supposedly, she has the second biggest podcast below Joe Rogan. Don't know if that's true. Don't really care. I'm just sitting here on my measly little new podcast, my fledgling little baby, trying to get it up off the ground, get it moving forward. And it just so happens that right now, politics are insane, so that's what I'm talking about mostly. Even though this was not meant to be a political channel, right now it's eat up with politics. Right before the election, that's what everybody wants to talk about, so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about politics right now. But, good for her. She got Kamala Harris. She got a presidential candidate on her podcast. Good publicity, bad publicity, doesn't matter. Good for her. Don't know who she is. Don't care who she is. But Kamala Harris, keeping it classy as always. So let's just take a little look-see here. Just a little look-see. Now, you got to remember, Kamala Harris is the Vice President of the United States. She's running for president. And what does she decide to do? Again, in all of her brilliance, Alex Cooper presents Call Her Daddy, creating conversation since 2018. She goes on the Call Her Daddy podcast. So let's just take a look at some of these podcasts that the vice president running for president of the United States decides to be on. So as you can see right here, we have Vice President Kamala Harris interview. Hard-hitting, groundbreaking stuff. Killing it. What's the next one? The life of a porn star. Fantastic. Let's move on to the next one. I made out with my boyfriend's mistress. Ha! Absolutely great. Let's see what else we got on here. Blowjobs and hall passes. Getting older, hotter, and wiser. He cheated. Do I leave? My revenge porn experience. Fantastic. Katy Perry. Narcissist, blowjobs, and red flags. Absolutely fantastic. Let's see what else we got on here. There's got to be some on here. We threw a baby shower. Rave. Week in LA. I made new friends in LA. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is the President of the United States. Let's go on a podcast that literally does a podcast about blowjobs. Fantastic. Brilliant. And I watched part of the podcast. She doesn't have it all up. I guess it's all in podcast form. And it was hard-hitting, talking about abortion. The one topic Kamala has is abortion. That's it. Nothing else. That's it. So when she goes on these softball interviews with these softball people who literally do not know how to ask a real question, she always gets the abortion question. Donald Trump said blah, 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 blah. You said blah, 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 blah. So where do you stand? Well, you got to understand, I was raised a middle-class child, and thank God my parents didn't believe in abortion or I would not be here. That is right. That's one thing that gets me about these abortion people. They're here because their parents did not have an abortion. Isn't that kind of an oxymoron? You're literally here to complain and bitch about abortion because your parents did not get an abortion. Only in liberal world does that make sense. Only in liberal world. And again, she goes on this rant during this. I'm not going to play this. It's 8 minutes. I'm not going to play this. You can watch this for yourself. But she goes on the rant how Donald Trump handpicked 3 Supreme Court justices simply to overturn Roe versus Wade. That is the stupidest thing I've heard anybody say. Because guess what? Obama handpicked a couple of justices because that is his job. The justices, the positions came open. Donald Trump going to let you pick them, Kamala? Going to let Sleepy Joe pick them? No, The president of the United States is going to pick them. So obviously he's going to pick conservative justices when he's a conservative, just like Obama will pick liberal justices because he's a liberal. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard anybody say in my life. He handpicked. Well, of course he handpicked him. He's the president, you moron. That's the dumbest thing in the world. But she goes on her rant about abortion. She's wrong about 90% of it. And there again, I'm not going to get into the abortion aspect. I'm going to say it again. I am a conservative, but I do not care your stance on abortion. Not my job. Don't care. You do what you want to do. And I do think every state should have some exceptions to abortion. I do. If your daughter gets raped, something goes wrong. Granted, that is an extremely small percentage. And don't get me started on that topic, because when we talk, and this is why I got to mention it anyway. The cases of that happened are extremely small, to where, somebody gets raped, has an abortion, gets pregnant, yada, yada. And the liberals love to bring that one up. But when you talk about illegals committing crime, well, that's an extremely small percentage. You can't even count that statistically. Oh, but we can count everything else that's an extremely small percentage statistically. Got it. We just can't count that. Got it. And that's the hypocrisy of liberal. Like I said, I call them hypocrites, because that's what they are. They're hypocrites. But then I'm not going to get into the abortion thing because I don't care. It's, I don't care. Do what you want to do. It doesn't matter to me one iota. I know what I believe. I know what my wife believes. Luckily, my wife and I, it's why we got married. Our values align, And besides the fact, she's an amazing woman, and she absolutely married a goofy ass dude like me. Goofy as hell, man. So yeah, I definitely won in that one. I won in that one. So I got the better deal. Regardless, I don't care what you want to do in abortion. I simply don't care. But that is the one thing Kamala Harris has, is the abortion stance. That's the only argument she has, because she's literally failed on everything else. So they always go back to the abortion question. In every interview she does, that's the thing that comes up always, is abortion. But the problem is that's all they're talking about. And just like I said, I haven't listened to the entire thing yet. This Alexandra Cooper, whatever it is, call her daddy. I don't even know if there's more to it. This could be the only thing. Shit, I don't know. I have no idea. I'll have to check it out. But the one segment they play, of course, is the abortion segment, because that's the one segment they know they can rile their base with, because that's all they have. And I'm going to say this again for anybody who watches this and is just, abortion, we got to have abortions. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say two things, actually. My choice, my body. That includes during COVID. My choice, my body. It doesn't just work for abortion. That includes everything. If you're going to have my choice, my body for one thing, and you guys are, it's got to be this, it got to be this, then it's got to be it for everything. So don't want to hear no more of your bullshit about that. I just simply don't want to hear that ever again about COVID. Second thing, out of the last 16 years, Democrats have been in charge, 12 of them. If abortion was such a big deal, why didn't they codify it? Why didn't they put it into law? They had the power to do it. They could have done that 1 billion times over by now. There's 365 days in a year. They could have done it every single day for 365 days for 12 years. Why didn't they? If it's such an issue, why didn't they do it? Because I hear liberals just love to whine about it, love to cry about it. Donald Trump, constantly whining and crying about abortion. Then why didn't your liberal gods, why didn't they codify it? If you want to blame somebody, blame the very people you're supporting. But I'm going to tell you why they didn't codify it. It's kind of like disease. And I've said this before. There's no money in the cure. The money's in the fight. And Democrats know that. They know they can keep their liberal base riled up by abortion. That is why they will not codify it. And I'm going to tell you right now, if Kamala Harris gets the presidency, she will not codify abortion. She will not do it. She will not make it a right, because there's no money in that. Because once it's done, it's done. Then what do you have? You can't run on your tax record because it's horrible. You can't run on your economy because it's horrible. You can't run on your border situation because it's horrible. You can't run on foreign policy because it's horrible. So if you remove abortion, they have nothing left to run on. That's why they do not codify it. That's exactly why. Because once it's codified, it's done. It is off the table. And now they have nothing to rile their base about. Absolutely nothing. Kamala Harris will not codify it. It'll struggle on if somehow, God forbid, Kamala Harris wins the presidency. Abortion is going to be the last damn thing on your mind. The first thing that's going to be on your mind is, how the hell am I going to make it till tomorrow? That's going to be the first problem. And she knows that. So therefore, abortion will fall through the cracks again. Now, she will do some things to ease up some of the states that have it outlawed, which I disagree with that. I disagree with 100% outlaw of abortion. I disagree with that. Like I said, and I disagree with it because it's America. It's my right to think liberals are idiots. It's liberals' rights to think that they can have abortions. I could care less. Care less. But mark my words, if God forbid Kamala Harris wins the presidency, she will not codify abortion, because that is the only thing the Democrats have to fight with left.